Hey, this is Mark at the Great Lakes Comic Con. I'm here with legendary Dan DiDio.
You got it right.
You know him from television and DC Comics. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing great. This is my first time here, so this is a really great time, actually. I'm having a lot of fun. You know, it's funny, we're in Tampa. It was 89 degrees, way too hot. Much better to come to Detroit in 20-degree weather. So thank you for that.
It's a pleasure that you're here. So tell us, how did you get involved in television? And then you progressed to comics.
Oh my gosh! You know what it is? I actually started at CBS as a page. As one of the CBS page in 1981. Okay, so I started as a page at CBS. I worked there, worked for the news division for a short period of time. Then I moved over to ABC. I was over in publicity for a while with the soap operas. Moved out to LA. I worked in children's television. From there, then I worked for a company in Vancouver as a story editor for the first computer animated TV show called Reboot. Then I helped them develop some new series. And then got a little tired of TV after a while, and then I made my way over to DC. So it's a normal career path.
That was in the 80s, and that was a great time for DC.
Oh, it was you know what? No, that was in TV. I was in 80s to 2000. I joined DC in 2000.
Oh, my mistake. My bad.
2002 was a great time for DC because I just got there.
Yeah, that was a renaissance.
There you go.
So tell us, what was one of your favorite projects with DC during your tenure?
You know, it's funny, when you do shows like this, people bring back a lot of old comics and you start to remember the different things you did. But honestly, one of the sweetest times for me was when I was working on the period Infinite Crisis, which is about 2005, 2006, to the 52 weekly series, which we did right after that. And I feel that's when we really had our creative energies really in sync, in unison, that the entire company felt like it was working together, and I don't think we could do better books than we did at that particular time. I'm always most proud of that period. But we've done so much other stuff that I'm proud of also, so it's always hard to choose, but I think you always remember that first moment when you achieved what you set out to do as the one you remember the best.
I remember seeing your interviews a lot on a lot of the DC comic animated films.
Yes.
What was your experience doing those?
I wasn't involved in that, but what we were doing is we were giving the background on all those things.
Yes.
So we always gave all the backfill on what the characters were and who. And you're never looking for a direct adaptation, but you want to make sure they capture the proper essence of who those characters are from there. And when you did those DVDs, it's a lot of fun because you get a chance to explain the logic and thought that went into the creation of these characters to really help fill out and round out people's understanding of who they are and hopefully appreciate what they just saw much better. You know, but I always laugh. One time I was in a cab in Chicago with Jim Lee, and everybody knows Jim, and I could move it in and out of the crowd pretty quietly, and we were talking, and the cab driver stops the car and goes, I know who you are. And I think they were asking Jim, and he goes, you're Dan DiDio. And I said, how do you know me? And he goes, that voice, it's from the DVDs. I hear you on all my DVDs. I'm like, okay. So I guess there's a lot to be gained from those DVD things that we did.
Those animated movies are just awesome. Some of the best stuff DC's put out.
I think they did such a great job because, like I said, I think when you look at the animated movies, I think that's when DC Comics was more intimately involved in a lot of the formation of the ideas. And then also you had, on the animation side, a lot of the animators were fans of the characters too. So there was a lot of love put on those things, and it shows up in every one of those shows. And then you have Bruce Timm, and that pretty much sells it all.
What are you working on now?
Well, right now, once I left DC, I was looking for something to do, but not in the same level. I was working on a major company. So I sat down with Frank Miller, and both Frank Miller and I decided to go out and start to publish our own material. So Frank and I created our own small company called Frank Miller Presents Comics, and we're doing a small line of books that we feel is a nice eclectic mix, but really capture the essence of what comics should be. And Frank's reinvigorated by doing this. I'm super excited by it. I've gone from being from one of the majors to one of the indies, and we're having a blast. So I get a chance to actually write and really get hands-on in these books in a way that I haven't done even by my time at DC.
And it was a pleasure speaking with you, and I hopefully you have a great con and a great experience here in the Detroit area.
So far, so good. It's been great. Can't wait to meet the crowd and meet the people here. It's been great. Thank you.
Thanks. And this is Mark at the Great Lakes Comic Con with Dan DiDio. Get it right, folks. DiDio.